attending debates actually can be very good way to train our English communication skills.
Hello guys, so I'm going to introduce you to some vocabulary first. In this episode, unlike our previous episodes, we're going to be talking about culture and getting adjusted to life in the UK as an immigrant. So I want to introduce you to the word banter. Banter, it's playful and friendly exchange of teasing remarks. We had some fun banter during the meeting. Do you enjoy banter with friends? Or what's the best banter you've had? In response to this, you can answer, yes, I enjoy banter with friends. The best banter was when we teased each other about the dismal performance of our favorite sports teams. To take a toll. To take a toll is the next item, a phrase here to learn. And remember, to gradually have a negative impact or effect on something. For example, the long hours at work started to take a toll on my health. Has a busy schedule ever taken a toll on you? How did you manage it? You can answer this by saying, yes, my busy schedule took a toll on my sleep, so I started setting boundaries to get more rest. I've introduced these terms, they come up in conversation. There are plenty of other terms that will be introduced in our conversations that arise naturally. So I hope you enjoy this conversation and improve your listening skills. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so we have Mandy here today. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We normally don't do introductions, but do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Mandy, UK graduate living in London. And that's me. I haven't prepared to introduce myself, but yeah, I'm happy. Thank you so much for having me today, John. Because I've been following the I Speak channels for a while, and I noticed that normally you invite the guests who speak very fluently English. I don't speak very high level English. But I'd like to test my English communication skills today. So challenge accepted. And also, I believe it will be a fun experience anyway.
For sure. I think the audience will find out that your English is actually at a high level. So maybe, they would beg to differ like I do. In any case, you're very welcome on the podcast. And I want to thank you as well for obviously your participation over the year that we've been active, and yeah, happy to discuss the upcoming topics with you. So to get started, let's talk about the UK. Arriving in the UK, what has your experience been like overall?
So I first came in the UK in 2019 before COVID-19. And to be honest, I was overwhelmed because, it wasn't like what I saw on TV, like BBC channels or English theater films. Not everyone actually speak with a very standard British accent. So, the reality when I arrived in London, I find there are hundreds of language mixed with different accents. So accents was a big challenge for me when I first arrived here. I don't know, how about you? Because you also stayed in the UK for a while. So did you find the accent is like even for natives, the accent is challenging?
Well, I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not so perceptive to different accents. And I had visited the UK maybe 10 years before I actually moved there. And then I visited multiple times in between. And in the first trip, I actually went from London to Scotland, drove up actually. And yeah, it was, I remember actually checking into the hotel in Edinburgh, and it was quite difficult to understand the receptionist. That's what I remember. And beyond that, I haven't had too many run-ins with uh, what Londoners call Northerners. So,
Mhm.
um, so yeah, I haven't had too much difficulty, but I've seen on TV or on YouTube David Beckham and
Mhm.
Steven Gerrard from Liverpool. They do have a different accent, and it is quite difficult to understand. I think, especially um, for the first time when you hear it for the first time. What kind of
Yeah,
accents
that.
did you encounter?
Oh, there. I mean, like there's people, from how to say, there are people from different regions or different nationalities. So they speak English with their own native language accents. For example, like me, I have a Chinese accents, and also the Indian friends have Indian accents. So I guess for majority of foreign students, first the challenge is their accent. But to be honest, I find like from them, I understand that speaking English is not a big deal, especially with an accent. English is just a tool, and communication is the most important aspect. So as long as we can express ourselves and communicate effectively, then that's not a big deal. And so yeah, so also I'm not awkward by my Chinese accent. And actually, a very fun experience is that a British friend banter me. British, they like banter. Uh,
Hmm.
if they think you are a very close friend, they banter me and saying like, you know what, I really like your Chinese accent because it sounds very resilient and hardworking. That's very fun.
Is that yeah? You mean they tease you? They tease you with
They
some light
tease
banter.
me, yeah, like a banter. Well, tease
Sure,
my
sure.
Chinese accent. Yeah.
I find it interesting with regards to accent and being open to communicating across various accents. It's actually antithetical to the principle of British hierarchy in a way. There's the received pronunciation, the southern pronunciation, and there's a bit of snobbery that's perceived from, at least from the northerner perspective, as far as I understand, that
Mm-hmm.
those outside of London or outside of Surrey or southern UK look at the received accent, the received pronunciation as like the Queen's English, as, oh, that's the proper way,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone
That's
has
a first
to,
way.
yeah. And if not, if you don't speak in those accents, you're going to be disadvantaged. In a way, they don't care because they're not interested in climbing the hierarchy as such. But there is a it's embedded. It's almost in the language. This hierarchy that's established in the UK. That's what it's kind of culturally built upon. So I think as an
Oh.
Australian, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the Australians will also always have this prejudice against them as well, that Australian accents are not going to be accepted to the level that received pronunciation is
So do
usually.
you actually? But Uh, I don't find you have any accent. I think you standard. You speak standard English. So do you actually have a Australian accent?
I think
Because
standard English itself is a misnomer. Like, it depends where you're from, I suppose. But in the UK, it's certainly prejudiced towards the received pronunciation, as far as I understand. But for me, I mean, the Brits understand my English as being, they quickly perceive that I'm from Australia, like almost instantly. So this is an Australian, there's probably an Australian accent somewhere there. It's not the strongest of accents,
oh,
as far as I'm aware, but it's there and people can pick it up pretty quickly.
oh, interesting. Yeah. So, like your background, do you actually grow up with bilingual language because
Well,
you
I was
speak
born in Korea.
English.
Yeah,
You so you speak both language, English and Korean.
of course. But my Korean at the moment, as soon as I started speaking English with my siblings from the age of
Mhm.
7 onwards, we quickly adapted to the Australian English because we lived out quite far from the city and we didn't really have any Korean peers to speak with. So we quickly just started speaking English amongst ourselves and with our friends who we would invite over or to whose houses we would go to play, So we quickly actually stopped using Korean so much. So our English developed much faster and
That's
we all,
special.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
sure.
ended up
Sure.
becoming, yeah,
So your
English speakers.
Korean, the level of your career is very basic or survival. So
Exactly.
you can
Yeah, it's
survive
elementary.
in Korea. Ah, I see. Yeah, it's very interesting. Sometimes I'm thinking, I'm really, how to say, jealous or admire of the bilingual kids because you guys can manage two language in your brain, and it's a very, how to say, competitive sometimes. Because English is the tool and language is just a tool. So which means you can communicate with two nations.
Yeah, for me, I look at monolinguals with some form of jealousy as well, in the sense that it would be great to have a greater depth of not only expression but understanding of a language. My English, although it may sound native, only started when I was 7, so I think I lack a lot of, um, let's say, deeper perceptive um, techniques, or not only techniques but
Mhm.
experiences in the English language. So the depth with which I can not only express myself but understand reality with, I think it's very limited, and it only came into effect. Really, it only matured to the point of let's say baseline
Mhm.
experiential or expressive thought when I was in my teens. Like 15, 16 is when I started to, yeah, become and I catch up with my peers. Before that, I feel like I was really unable to express myself or to inquire into my own thoughts,
Oh,
So yeah,
interesting. Yeah. So probably like you mean express yourself accurately or um
yeah,
how to
because well, I would say I didn't even have the substance to express. I didn't have anything to express. I wasn't thinking that much, to be honest. And the language helps formulate the ideas even before they're expressed.
That's interesting. I guess like you finally when you are a teenager, so which means you spend like very extensive time in the language environment, then it became more natural and for you, it not as you mentioned, it's not a tool. So it's actually how to say a way of you express yourself.
Yeah,
It's
express
not
myself and also, yeah, and also think. It's a way of thinking.
yes. So I'm also wondering, like bilingual kids, do you think in English now, or do you think in Korean in your brain
Yeah.
when you think?
I
Yeah,
think in
think.
English now. Yeah, I think in English now. But the reality is actually that I don't really think that much. A lot of my thoughts are not in words. They're not. They're basically in a formless. They're in like a pot, and they're just swirling around. There are
Oh,
thoughts that are swirling around, and they come out like out into the opening. Uh, but from where they come, it's not that clear. So I feel like it's certain. I don't know if it's me as a bilingual or me just in my personality, or that's something that's very common to others. But yeah, for me, thoughts are not that clearly. Uh,
in a language or in the words. That's
Exactly.
the real. Oh, that's interesting. I believe like individuals is so different. Their the brain, how the brain works, how it perceives the tasks. It's fascinating. Yeah, yeah.
What
That's
about for you?
very. Oh, that's a good question. So, as a English learner, at the very beginning, I translate my source in Chinese from Chinese into English. And then to train myself, sometimes I try to think about a question or think about ideas in English just to train myself. So, but it is not a very natural way. So sometimes I feel like there is a certain time I don't speak very uh, authentic Chinese, and also I don't speak very good English. It's kind of like a two language fighting in my brain. And I think I'm still on that stage, which is a very weird, to be honest. So, but maybe I guess like as a bilingual kid of you at the first few years living in Australia, especially for young kids, maybe the language is fighting in their brain as well. So that's why some kids speak, they couldn't express themselves clearly. And but after a certain time, I think I will become more like how to say natural in speaking English. Now it's like two language fighting in my brain.
Do you mean to say that when you express something in English, you also have a translation of that or the original in Chinese playing in your mind as you speak?
Yes, yes, I'm still on that stage, and two language fighting in my brain, and I sometimes when I speak Chinese with my Chinese friend, I can't find authentic words now. But when I speak English, I also couldn't find a very um, accurate words. So that's the um, struggles of learn as English learners. I believe some English learners is experience the same stages as me.
For sure, for sure. I do think that when we do start acquiring a new language, it takes a toll on our original languages as well. Just because of the processing power that the brain has, it's not unlimited. So I think they do fight for memory space. Maybe, I don't know if what science actually says on this matter, but I've certainly felt that. And when I first started learning Italian, it started to jar. It actually started to jar with the only compartment that I had reserved for foreign languages, which was Japanese. So every
Mm,
time I started thinking in Italian, it would get mixed up with Japanese, and it took a long time. Yeah,
interesting.
until
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Now it's to the point to where all of the languages that I've acquired are like in fragments, and they don't really impede with each other. A little bit happens in French. Like if I try to express myself in French, I know very, very little French, but it would kind of
mm.
clash with my knowledge of Italian. But I think that kind of thing happens where it fights for memory space.
Fight for memory space. So you speak English, of course, and Korean and French and Japanese and Italian. So you are multilingual.
Well, I don't speak
Uh,
French or Japanese very well. I only know the elementary aspects of that language. But I learned Italian. I lived in Italy for 5 years, and I can also speak a little bit of German. I can understand German.
oh, really? So you are those type of people who have the talent of learning language or has the passions of learning new
I
language.
wouldn't say, yeah, I wouldn't say talent. It's just a matter of circumstance. Just because I lived in Italy for 5 years, you know,
Wow,
and
years.
yeah, I was just exposed to the Italian spoken by the professors who were teaching it
Mm.
in the lectures that I went to. That's all. And of course, I did take lessons and try to adapt as much as possible. But I wouldn't say it's a talent as much as it is just training through exposure.
Mhm. Ah, interesting. Yeah. So do you forget Italians after you,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah,
leave the
yeah,
country?
definitely rusty. And it's definitely rusty. But also, what's interesting is that I can't really perceive the accents in Italian. You know, there are so many different accents or even
Oh,
dialects within the Italian language. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't have one. I don't have one, right? My Italian is very fluid. I can pretty much mimic the accent of the person um, who's speaking with me because I don't have a set accent myself. That's what I would say.
oh, that's interesting. So because you are also a language learner, and you think like language environment is the most, uh, how to say, vital uh, condition for language learners. So, for example, if someone live in China, could they don't have the English, they don't have the language environment for English. So, is that slow down their progress? Would it slow down their
Right.
progress?
I think naturally, yeah, it would in terms of the amount of time you spend in the language in an immersed setting. So I think it would be difficult to learn French without being in France or to learn English outside of the English-speaking countries. But there's enough media to make up for that disadvantage these days, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's probably okay to learn as long as you do expose yourself to a lot of listening
Mm-hmm.
practice.
Exactly. So that's why, I bumped into some members on iSpeak who live actually in non-English speaking countries. So they expressed their challenges they said, oh, you are in UK. In the UK, you have the language environment, but I'm living in, Middle East, I'm living in China or living in Japan. I don't have the language environment. So that's why they said, oh, it's really, really good for them to have the opportunity to chat with English learners on the platform, creating some English learning environment for them. So I find it really helpful as well, because even though I live in the UK, I spent much time with my Chinese community, so we speak Chinese. And also, I work from home, which means I don't have many opportunities to go outside to speak with people. And even though I speak with British, with local people, they wouldn't correct my mistakes. And there is a time, a British friend, I asked my British friend, could you please correct my grammar or vocabulary mistakes if you find it. He said, no, I'm very lazy. And also I think it's very cute that you made some mistakes when you speak English. So I was so fascinated. Like local people, first they wouldn't correct me because they think it's rude. I find it. I think to correct a person's English mistakes is rude, and also as long as I can make myself understood, then they think, oh, that's fine. So that's why I've been, living in the UK for 5 years. I still speak, how to say, not very high level English, because no one correct me. That's why I find the AI so the platform has the AI correct grammar and vocabulary corrections. It's very helpful for me as well.
Wow, that's interesting. I think we should create some T-shirts from iSpeak and make them say, "Correct me if I'm wrong," or "Correct my English," and
Oh,
go around.
that's a good idea. Correct. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, yeah, you should like
Sell those.
create some merchandise.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make note of this afterwards. So what do you do beyond I speak, or beyond speaking practice with others, beyond receiving corrections for your speech? What do you do, or what have you done that's been effective for your English language development?
That's also a good questions. So, given a very limited, how to say, the methods to improve my English in the UK, I listen to news channels or podcasts. So I've been following some current affairs and debates because I find it's a very efficient way to understand people here, to understand the society, to understand what's their thoughts, what's the approaches of them to think about a situation, to think about questions. So sometimes I listen to the debates because I want to understand the two group of people perspective. That is a very good way to practice my listening and communication skills. So I don't know, maybe in the future you can organize some debates on the platform. We have a topic to
Wow.
debate.
That sounds interesting. Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. In terms of debate and two sides, do you mean political sides? What do you mean by listening to debates?
I think that political debates might be a bit, how to say, complex. So maybe can creating some debates such as, will dating apps actually helpful for people improve the uh, dating market, or is that good or not? So this kind of debates or topic might be interesting and fun, so we can have a few group of people to 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 express their opinions. And yeah.
Have you ever participated in a debate yourself?
Not in English, maybe when I was in high school,
Yeah.
so we debate with in Chinese, but
You were in
that's
a
very
debating team?
fun. Yeah,
You were in a
debate.
debating team?
Yes, yes, I was in the debating team, and if attending debates actually can be very good way to train our English communication skills. And it is also very challenging because to argue something in English in a foreign language is yeah, it requires like logical and of course language levels. So it might be a good uh, activities online for like high level English speakers.
I think that's right. Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. In terms of your debate experience in school, was it offered as an activity like outside of the school as an extracurricular activity, or was it mandatory? How did you get into debate in the first place?
Oh, it is not how to say a big debate event. It was just organized by teachers, and because we have some um how to say the academic um training for students, that you need to practice your logical thinking and strategic thinking. So they organize some sessions after class for the students who are actually interested in
Right.
like debating. Yeah. And it's a good community activities.
Yeah.
Or maybe we can even create some quiz. I don't know if it's popular in Australia, but in Britain they do pub quiz. So maybe we can do some
Oh
quiz
yeah.
uh,
Like trivia.
online. Uh, Sorry, what's
Like like trivia, like knowledge about things like useless things, or actually knowledge about
Yeah.
English terms and grammar?
So quiz can be very, how to say it, you can quiz people like a current affair, or quiz people as the trends, or some news happening in the world, or some basic knowledge. It can be variety, I think. Or as you mentioned, English grammar quiz, or yeah, it can be lots of there are might be lots of options.
Yeah. I think they're great ideas. Yeah. If anybody wanted to get into debate, how would they go about that? Is there something that you can recommend for getting involved? As a kid, I always observed debates. I don't actually recall ever participating in one. Probably happened like once or twice where I was in a debate, like a debating team, but it was only very brief and the mandatory activity. I never volunteered for such things. But I think
Wow.
now it's so important to be able to debate, to be able to respectfully disagree, and to convey your ideas logically.
Yes,
So
yes. Mm-hmm.
how would you get into it? How would you get into debate if you had never experienced it before? Just go into a club, just rock up at a club, or
Uh, oh, you mean now in the UK, how to be involved in debate, or you mean how to organize a
yeah.
debate on how to organize a debate online?
Not online. I mean, in terms of for anybody in their local circumstance, how would they be able to get involved? Maybe they're living outside of the UK. Maybe they're in the UK. Or how does anyone even get involved in this kind of thing?
Oh, so the debates, I listened, it's, some producers who organize their channels. So, for example, what is the guy's called,
Oh,
Piers
please, yeah.
Morgan? Yes,
Yeah.
he organized debates. So in each episode, they will have a topic to debate, and then he invites the guests with the different backgrounds of like different perspective. It's very interesting to watch that, because I try to understand people, understand their behavior or their opinions based on different backgrounds. So it is very helpful to improve my English.
Yeah, Piers Morgan is a good one. I think there are also debates held at universities that are also cast or are shared on YouTube. Oxford Union, for example. So
Mm.
it's apparently the most, I'm just reading it up now, the most prestigious debating society. And they have events on YouTube. So Oxford Union. So yeah, I'll look into that and see if we can bring some of that into our sessions.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Great. So another question that we might get into is the English culture. So, what was your experience of the English culture when you first arrived, and what are your reflections on it now?
The English culture, of course, their pub culture, I have to mention. So so it was fascinating to see the Victoria styles decorations of English pubs. I don't know, were you a pub person when you living in London? When you're in London?
Yes, one of my
Well,
favorite things about the
oh, one of your favorite things.
UK.
Yeah, it's also one of my favorite things. I find it. So the English pub is very interesting. It serves both food and beverage. So it's like a half food, half beverage. And people just can spend all days in the pub. They British start drinking like in the morning on Sundays. Yeah. What's your experience like? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, yeah, it would be the main place to meet friends, and
Mhm.
to watch sport or just to unwind. And especially in the summer, I love the tradition of standing outside of the pubs. I really
Oh,
love that.
that's
Yeah.
oh, I really love that. That is definitely how to say a symbol or a unique view in central London. For example, like Thursday evening, uh, the professionals they definitely go to pubs and have pints with their mates, and people never sit indoors. They just standing in the street. So you will see group of people standing in the street and holding the pies and chatting, smoking, and that's a very unique scene. I I find it in London. It's very how to say uh dynamic. Do you find it's a very dynamic? You can feel the dynamics and
Yeah.
of the city, and it's very lively. So I like that kind of atmosphere. How about you?
It's very, no, for sure. It's very energizing. And even when I used to ride my bike around the city, and I would look on the people who've just finished work and are having a pint,
Mm.
with a lot of joy. Like it's really amazing when I'm able to experience that myself with my friends. And
Yeah.
it's
Do you
even,
miss that? Do you miss that?
yeah. Well,
Come back.
now I do. Yeah, currently I'm in Korea, so I don't get that right now. But certainly I look forward to um experiencing the afternoon pub rounds for sure.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's a lot of joy to that, I would say.
yes, definitely. And also, some pubs they have their own fixed customers. So people sometimes interested, that pub actually it's there is a lot of trendy tech founders drink. They like that pub, or do you know that pub? Some celebrities normally hang out there, or do you know that pub? So they have their unique focus of the customers.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Oh, I
sometimes
see.
you can identify what kind of people who, uh, uh, what those group of people actually hanging in different pubs. That's also very interesting. Uh,
That's true.
yeah, yeah.
Down the embankment and from Holborn there to
Mm.
Bank
Oh,
towards the bridge. I mean, there are all the banks there, so you see a lot of
bunkers,
bankers. Yeah, yeah.
bunkers. They
That's what
dress
I
up,
used to see.
right? With
Yeah.
posh outfits and drinking outside the pub and with their handbag between their legs, because they don't have place to put the handbags on. It's very unique
Yeah,
view.
yeah. That's what I've actually picked up from the London way of doing things. Like they do things that are, I mean, they do wear well-fitted suits, and it may be, not, it might not be the most comfortable get up, but at the same time, they do things that are convenient. Like they all carry backpacks. They're not
Mm.
carrying briefcases like I see in Australia. And I mean, I'm generalizing a lot here, but they wear backpacks and they also put their bags on the ground, like on the tube. They always put their
Yes.
bags on the ground, which I'd never seen before. And I've started doing that in Korea, and Koreans look at me,
Oh,
in a in a strange
like
way.
yeah,
Yeah, why,
strange way.
why would you
Asians,
do
it's yeah. How could you do it? So random.
that? But I actually appreciate that the Brits don't really care. They don't care
I
about
don't really care. Yeah,
the floor, the ground being dirty. Like
yeah.
it's okay if it's convenient, and
Mm.
I like that. I like that about
I like
just
that as
doing things
well.
that work. They do things
Yeah,
that work.
yeah, exactly. Um,
Great. Anything else that you really enjoy or appreciate about being in the UK?
um, I think like people's are very people are polite. Yes, generally, I think I appreciate like people respect and being polite with each other, and also, sometimes the venues protects their employees or respects their employees. For example, there is an experience when I was a language student. I hang out with some of also foreign friends in a pub, and one of the guy who is from Switzerland, he wants to order some beers, but he snapped his fingers to the bartender. Do you snap the fingers because he wants to get her attention? But it is actually a very rude way of in the UK. So he was immediately kicked out by the staff, and they said it's a very rude way to with the staff, so they never ever bear this kind of behavior. So he was banned by the club. Yeah,
So the manager came.
Yeah, the manager came, so he protect his staff, which I think it's probably very rare in back in China, because people get used to be quite aggressive or with the waitress or with the bartenders. So, or as in our culture, we don't think snap fingers is a rude way or it's a big deal. But in the UK, I find people are very, they have the boundaries and barrier to protect the people who works in the service hospitality industry. So that's what I appreciate. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree a lot. I hadn't thought about that one, but now I'm beginning to connect the dots with regards to how the Brits actually do protect their staff. And it's really for the longevity, also for the business. It's better for the business not to accommodate to such rude people. Not only in terms of preserving like the general culture, but for that restaurant or pub or bar, it's going to serve them better long term if they don't have patrons like that. Not only for their staff, I mean, it's better for the other patrons. So I think it's a good concept, a good philosophy that that the Brits really take to heart or carry on, and it's expressed in other areas as well. When I was teaching at an international school in Tunisia, the concept was always about new enrollments, across through to the next year, which wasn't looking into 10 years or 100 years into the future of that school, because keeping the students at the school at the cost of potentially disrupting class for that semester and for that year, they would allow for such decisions at the expense of long-term reputation of the school. Whereas British schools are not like that. Like the Australian schools take after the British schools, and in their private school system, which I wasn't part of, but I've heard down the grapevine that when you go to private schools, they are very quick to suspend you or to expel you, because that preserves the reputation of that school for long-term goals. For the long term, it's actually better for the school to remove disruptive behavior without placating to the parents who might be paying exorbitant fees for that year. They're not interested. They're interested in actually preserving the environment for studying well.
Yes.
For the long term, they don't mind missing out. On one or two parents and their children attending the college. So that's actually benefited those schools, and that's kind of their edge. That's one of the the things that they have that other schools are unable to do. So yeah, I think it's a good thing I think it's something that the Brits have worked out, like a long-term.
So long term vision. But that's why people say, oh, Brits, they are very slow. They work slow. They proceed things slow. Maybe that's a truth. That's why they want to plan things long term, and they don't only focus on the short term, how to say, short term benefits, or maybe, maybe. Mm.
And what about challenges? Can you describe any challenges that you've experienced?
Yeah, the challenge is like, this is a very expensive city. So yeah, the cost of living has been like raising very significantly. But the good way is that as a bilingual bilingual expat, I could find jobs that requires Mandarin skills and also English skills. So I think that's my advantage of being an expat living in the UK. So there is many opportunities for Mandarin speakers, because some venues, they have Chinese guests, or some companies, they do the business with China. So that's where there is a challenge, there are opportunities. So that is the benefits I find being bilingual speakers.
So you mean by meeting the rising cost of living by actually obtaining further clients, or further furthering your career and improving or increasing your income?
Yeah, increasing the income and find the jobs, support the cost of living. So it's easier for like an international student to get some part-time jobs. And also, if you will find something, you can earn some money by doing some part-time jobs if you can leveraging the language skills.
So that's something that our listeners could be interested to know, to take advantage of their language skills that they bring to the UK to find employment that might be not as easy for locals to attain.
Yes, so they have a specific audience or specific customers who needs the service of bilingual service, I think.
Nice. All right. Well, I think we're almost at the end. Maybe I can ask you to perhaps share further advice, or any last advice that you might have for expats, graduating students in the UK, or those intending to move to the UK and to settle down there.
I would say, like, be brave, and don't always don't isolate yourself. Just go out, meet people, and so leverage all the English resource to improve the English skills. And that's the most important action, I think.
Amazing. Can you tell me a little bit more, actually, before we go, in leveraging the different meetups or events that might be happening in person? What's good? What's worked best for you in terms of getting yourself out there when you don't know too many people in London?
Yeah, so for example, I used to attend some meetup events, on-site events. And for example, like language exchange events. So I signed up and I went there and meet people. Yeah, we did meet people, but we always end up drinking beers in the pub instead of just speaking English. So it's a good way to meet people, but it might not be the best way to practice English because, as I mentioned, we end up drinking. And so then I also, it's not very cost effective way to, if you are seeking for English improvement, because I spent money on transportation, spent money on lots of pies, but in the end, I find, actually, I didn't speak English as much as I can. So, but I spent lots of budget on beers. So then I quit those kind of meetup events. And yeah, I sometimes listen to the radios and also join some online sessions, which will save my time and also save my money. And I got opportunity to speak. Yeah, so that's
Nice. Yeah, I've got some of those meetup events as well, especially when it was on the topic of entrepreneurship, founders meetups, technology, and so on. And I've also heard about meetups. I mean, yeah, in-person meetups, going hiking, activities like games or going to the park, and things that may not cost so much to join. So I think there are still opportunities
still some, yeah.
to mingle with other immigrants or expats, and also locals. So I think running is one as well. A friend of mine used to go, and probably still does, go running every Saturday.
Like a jogging club.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing is, of course, you can't talk too much when you're running.
Yeah, you can't. But it's healthy. It's healthy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. At least it gets you out of the house.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Mandy, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I would like to invite you again very soon. So let's do it again. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's do it again. Thank you so much for having me. And I had some fun conversation with you. Yeah, appreciate it.